So this is the sustainability issues, but the other one is about resiliency. So how do we address the resiliency? Resiliency is all about addressing the adverse impacts. What do we mean by adverse impacts? Basically, we're talking about the climate change. So everybody knows. I mean, you are in Kerala. Kerala experienced so many climate change issues, right? So you can see the transportation infrastructure is the first one to be affected by this. So roads, there may be slope failures, and you have issues with that. So all this kind of damage is due to these extreme climate impacts. And you have seen recently, I don't have a picture of that Chennai airport, another airport that they had a lot of water, they had to cancel the flights. But even in the US and other places, you have all this transportation infrastructure, the coastal harbor, ports, everything is affected by these climate impacts. So it is due to climate greenhouse gas emissions, and greenhouse gas emissions are going to continue into the future. So we should be reducing the greenhouse gases. This is called climate change mitigation. We should do all the things. Like if you do the sustainable design, if you reduce the carbon footprint, you are doing something good for climate change mitigation, right? But the greenhouse gases are going to reduce slowly, and you're going to see the impacts of this climate change. And we cannot have the damage taking place like that and not do anything. So what we really need to do is we really need to address these climate change impacts and make sure that our transportation infrastructure, the functionality of the transportation infrastructure does not go bad, right? So you may have some impact, and the performance could go down, but should be still be able to perform. And when the adverse event goes away, then the system should come back and recover back. So this is basically what we're talking about, is the resiliency, right? So that's what we need to consider in all our transportation infrastructure. So sustainability is long term, triple bottom line. Whereas you're looking at the resiliency is coping up with this, adverse conditions. So now we are adding on new thing to triple bottom line. Not only the environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, social sustainability, you need to look at resiliency. Now, again, like how we quantify the triple bottom line aspects, how do I quantify the resiliency? So you can do the quantitative assessment, consider the exposure, vulnerability, and risk, or you do the semi-quantitative approach using the indicators and rating. And resiliency assessment, if you want to do the quantitative way, there are methods by which you can do the assessment and see the exposure and vulnerability. And if there is a problem with your transportation infrastructure, then consider the resiliency measures, and then incorporate those resiliency measures, and then see if it is adequate as you go in time, right? So if the climate change predictions are same as what you assumed, then it should be fine. If the climate change predictions are worse than what you assumed, then you need to go back and redo this analysis. So in our research, we also extended the Qualix framework to address the resiliency. So this is what we're showing. So this is triple bottom line and resiliency. They're all now integrated together in this framework. So it's kind of, there's a paper, you can look at a lot of details. First, what we do here is we do the resiliency assessment to look at resilient designs. And out of the resiliency designs, which one is more sustainable based on the triple bottom line and sustainability assessment. And then, whatever we select, we know that it is resilient. And then out of the resilient options, which one is more sustainable? So basically you have a sustainable and resilient design. So when you talk about sustainability resiliency project, I showed you, it could be a simple pavement project, it could be, street, highway, or, and the material selection. So these are the things that you can do very commonly on day-to-day basis. But in transportation infrastructures tend to be a little bit larger scale. There could be regional scale, there could be institutional scale. So we really need to look at the scale of the sustainability projects much broader than small scale project, maybe a component of a big project, right? So for larger scale projects, obviously, if you're going to look at the sustainability and resiliency in your design, you need to look at what is the purpose of my assessment, what is the scope of my assessment. You really need to be very clear with that one. And you need to define the sustainability and resiliency indicators, and then quantify the indicators using the available tools, whether they're going to be quantitative or qualitative, using the ratings, and integrate all indicator metrics to assess the overall sustainability and resiliency. This could be the generalized approach to design, any scale transportation infrastructure. So, as I said, quantitative assessment is a lot of challenging, but a lot of efforts now, mainly use rating tools. So rating tools, I want to just mention the one that everybody's familiar with is a LEED, right? So LEED is for green buildings. It's not a transportation. I mean, if you have a transportation infrastructure has some buildings, this can be used. So I just want to show you, look, what is the rating tool look like? So in the LEED, you have all these different categories, and under each category, you have these credits. So, and then you look at those each one, and then based on the rating system, you have scores, and then if a particular credit is applicable, and if you can justify it, then you give that score, and then, similarly, you consider all of them, and finally, you get the total score. If the total score is more than 80, then it's called platinum building. If it's more than 60, it's a gold building. It's more than 50, it's a silver building, right? So you probably know, I mean, India has a similar LEED system and rating of the building. So this is kind of a concept. So here you're not doing a lot of quantitative assessment, more of semi-quantitative assessment. You're giving the rating, like a numbers. The scaling of these numbers depends upon the rating tool, right? So, but this one, if you look at the LEED system, all these things that you see in these credits are environmental indicators. So that's why it's called green buildings. It's not a sustainable building, right? Sustainability building means, you need to consider the economic aspects and social aspects. So the conventional LEED system considers only environmental impact. So that's why it's a green building rating. So if you don't have a building, if you have a transportation infrastructure, what I'm going to do? So the LEED system is not applicable. Now you have to look at other rating systems. I want you to know about this. Envision is the rating system that can be applied to any other infrastructure other than the buildings. So if you're talking about transportation, any type of transportation infrastructure, it could be airports, railways, roadways. So you can apply this one. So in this one, you see there are 64 sustainability and resiliency indicators. So the ones which I highlighted, quality of life, leadership, resource allocation, natural world, these are all the credits that deal with triple bottom line, environmental, economic, and social aspects. They're not categorized under those headings, but they are all like, intermixed, but they're all, if I have to, sort them out, I can sort them out, some of them are environmental, some of them economical, some of them, social. And then they have this last category is climate and resiliency. So you have a resiliency included. So you have a triple bottom line sustainability, you have resiliency. So this is truly sustainable and resilient assessment framework. And based on the points that you get, you can consider the infrastructure as a bronze level or the silver level or gold level, so forth. And then there are not many standards for designing the sustainable infrastructure, right? So this Envision can be used for any infrastructure, including transportation infrastructure. So recently, KSCSTE has come up with this. It is the standard practice. Probably this is the only one that is available as of now. If you are trying to design sustainable infrastructure, so this will be the standard code that you will see. And this is, as you see, the content here is similar to Envision. So Envision is also supported by KSCSTE. So same elements are included in the standard practice. So now this standard is being used extensively in a lot of transportation projects in the US. So, there are a lot of examples of transportation projects that use the Envision, and the advantage of using these tools is that, okay, as a designer, you want to make your project sustainable, but you don't know what to do, right? But going through this rating systems, you can consider the issues with, and see if you can incorporate or you cannot incorporate. So it gives you the roadmap. For example, this is the International Airport Automated People Mover project. This it shuttles the people from one terminal to other terminal, and they incorporated a lot of this sustainability and resiliency features, and it got the gold award. So that's just going through the checklist, going through the credits. And here is another project that is done under the Envision. Again, this is the multimodal regional transport hub, bicycle storage, parking lot, and there is a green infrastructure to address the stormwater and other things. So this got the rating of platinum. And again, this is another project that is done under Envision. Again, Envision is used during the project planning and construction, everything else. At the end, it has a lot of sustainability and resiliency features. And that's Envision is used extensively in US, and now it is being considered in other countries. But other popular rating tool is SQL. This was first developed in the UK, and it has gone on several revisions. But in terms of just looking at the transportation infrastructure, there are some specific rating tools. So Envision is very broad. It can be applied to any, SQL also, very broad. It can be applied to any infrastructure. But if you are just talking about the transportation infrastructure, there are some tools that have been specifically developed for transportation. I highlighted these the first time: the GreenLITES, Greenroads, GreenPave, B2ST in highways, ILAST in West. So these are the specific rating tools that are designed only for transportation, and they have undergone revisions, over the years. But if you are interested in just the transportation and looking at the transportation infrastructure rating, sustainability and resiliency rating systems, so you should be looking at these things. The GreenLITES was first proposed in 2008. There are updates. So this is the one that is proposed by New York State Department of Transportation. It has these 5 categories: sustainable sites, water quality, materials and resources, energy and atmosphere, and innovation. And they have a lot of credits under each one. The total points are 175. And if you consider them, and if you get more than 98% of them, then the project is evergreen project. If you get more than 90%, the project is rated gold. So like that. And these are, if you want to go into the details about what are the specific credits that they're looking at it, you can see just like how I explained about LEED. So same thing, you can look at sustainable sites, water quality, materials and resource, energy and atmosphere. So you can look at each one of these things and say, okay, I'm doing the new project. I look at this, say, I want to rate it based on the GreenLITES. You look at this one, am I using any of these things? For example, your reuse of materials. For materials and resources, am I using the reuse of materials, and follow the instructions and how much of reuse of materials you are happening, and based on that you assign the score. So you always look at the user's guide and give you the guidance on how many points, maximum points available are 32, but you cannot have all 32, what extent that you're recycling content, locally provided materials, bioengineering techniques, hazardous materials minimization. Are you doing any of these things? So if you are not doing anything, maybe you want to think about how I can do these things, right? So you are proposing a project and you want to make it more sustainable and more resilient. So the idea is to look at these credits and do something to get those points. Okay, if you don't do those things, you're not going to get the points. You're not going to get the points means it's not going to be a sustainable project, right? So this is an example of this old bridge they replaced with a new bridge based on all these considerations in GreenLITES, right? And this is another project again under GreenLITES. They made it more sustainable project. The other one is the Greenroads. Greenroads is published first in 2009, and there were several updates. It was developed by a private company in collaboration with a university. And here again, these are different categories, and under each category you have these credits. So some of them are required, and that's fine. But other ones, what are you doing? Are you considering? These are all like indicators of that's environmental, economic, and social. So, for example, access and livability, this equity and accessibility, health impact analysis, noise and glare reduction. Are you considering those things? If you're considering those things, you get the points. So, what are the total points that you got, right? So, this is how it's without it getting too much involved in quantitative work, but these rating systems will help you to incorporate a lot of sustainability and resiliency features in your project. So the GreenPave is another rating tool applicable for transportation projects. This is developed by Ministry of Transportation in Ontario. Again, this the pavement technologies, materials and resources, energy and atmosphere, innovative and design process. You get these points, and then if you get, depending upon the points that you get, the project is, rated bronze, silver, gold. They have this trillium. Yeah, this is like that. Okay, so there are, projects under this. So if you have some project information, it could be a preliminary design, go through this go through this rating system and see what rating that you can get. If you want to, increase the rating, you have to incorporate some of those features. So basically, you could have spreadsheets like this one and look at what you're doing and how many points that you can get and what will be the rating. This other one is called, BE2ST or BEST in highways. This is developed by University of Wisconsin-Madison, and this is, tool that looks at the sustainability of using recycled materials in pavements. And again, it considers these different criteria. Okay, how much is the energy reduction? Compared to the baseline. If you do, conventional way versus, if you use the recycling of recycled materials, how much of this reduction that you're getting, reduction in the energy use, greenhouse gases, carbon footprint, all these things. You look at these considerations. And then, how do you consider all these things? Sometimes you do the life cycle assessment or life cycle cost analysis, and then you can get those numbers. So, for example, you have this pavement that uses, this is the conventional pavements, right? Subgrade, subbase, crushed aggregate, and you have hot mix asphalt. So, if I want to use the recycling materials instead of subbase, I want to use the foundry sand. And then I use this recycled pavement materials and fly ash combination here. And here I use, recycled asphalt pavement plus the reclaimed asphalt shingles. So I'm incorporating in this design a lot of recycled materials. So how sustainable is this one? So if you look at this rating system and calculate it, comes out, this is the target values, and it exceeds the target values, and it shows that it's a great sustainable project. The other rating tool is ILAST. ILAST is developed by Illinois Department of Transportation, American Consulting Engineers Council, and all these things. Again, they have these different categories: planning, design, environmental, lighting, materials, innovation. Again, and then we look at these credits. And then the interesting thing in this one is it's not a rating, but it just says yes or no. So are you considering this one? Are you considering this one? Are you considering this? So how many number of assets that you have, right? The other most popular transportation sustainability rating tool is INVEST. This is a Federal Highway Administration that developed, and it has gone through a lot of revisions. And it has three categories: systems planning, project development, operations, and maintenance. There are 17 criteria, 33 criteria, 14 criteria. And the idea is, for designers, they're supposed to use these things, and then evaluate what they designed and then score it. And the score is bad, then, hey, I would need to make my project more sustainable, and then revise your designs and go through this self-assessment and then make the project more sustainable. So there are a lot of these kind of the guidance in users manuals to find that one. So you can also, for the project development, you can come up with the points, and based on that, you can rate the project. And there are some examples, based on this invest, this is the project that was done, and going through the rating system, it is rated as at a platinum level because of all these sustainability features that I listed here. So just covered most commonly used transportation sustainability tools, but the takeaway points before I end my presentation. So I hope you understand now that climate resiliency is extremely important. Tomorrow you don't know, it's going to be there extreme flooding. You don't want roads to be inundated, bridges to collapse, and so forth. So the climate resiliency we need to address, and the sustainability we need to address. We need to reduce the greenhouse gases to address the climate change, but also we need to reduce the air pollution, all kinds of other and negative environmental impacts we need to reduce. And the economics, we should not only look at the direct costs, but also we look at the indirect costs and direct and indirect benefits, and the social impacts. This is extremely important. We really need to take care of our planet through environmental issues, but also we need to take care of human beings through social considerations. So I hope you understand the importance of this one, and if you consider these, then you are promoting the sustainable development or sustainable development goals as per UN. So how do we do this? So it's always easy to say that. I mean, you probably know people use the sustainability word, resiliency word indiscriminately, whether they understand it or not. I always see, like, the papers, they use the title, sustainable this one, resilient this one. Just whatever they are doing, they're just adding, these buzzwords. That's not, that's doing the disservice. We really, think about how much we are doing, or what we are doing. So if you want to do something, basically these frameworks and tools, as I said, in our research, we developed the Polix and Tupelixer as frameworks, which we have used on a lot of different projects, which is nice. I tell people that, doing using these frameworks, we are incorporating the things that we never thought about. Envision is another, rating tool that you can use. So these tools, as I mentioned, you don't know what I need to do for making my project sustainable and resilient. So these tools will help you, give you some clues. Are you considering recycling materials? Are you using, the previously used site, something like that. So it gives you the guidance on those things. But at the same time, you have to understand the limitations of the tools, right? And you have to use the right tool. So don't, not all the tools are good. So, you really need to think about, those things. And then conventional solutions are not sustainable and resilient. That's given. Don't argue that, whatever you have been doing, hey, it's resilient and sustainable. Don't put that argument. But we need, more innovative solutions. And a lot of times the sustainable and resilient solutions, sustainable solutions are actually could cost less than conventional solutions. So I hope, this will lead to new research, a lot of research that is being done, developing the new materials, new systems, new designs, new technologies. All those things, are promoting resiliency and sustainability. And I want to say, for researchers, like your center could have a lot of opportunities for fundamental and applied research to promote sustainability and resiliency. So, so overall, whatever everyone can do, all of those will accumulate and make the difference towards the sustainable development goals. So if you want to know a little bit more about definition of sustainability, resiliency, these tools, If you didn't work in this field, this is a good book to get hold of and read and get the basic understanding of the terminology and principles and basic aspects. So I just want to mention that, even if you want to enhance your knowledge on sustainability and resiliency and broader environmental issues, I strongly suggest you to attend these weekly Thursday webinars that I organize. It is not this Thursday, but like next week onwards, next Thursday onwards, we will have every week webinars on different topics. I have a schedule and other things. You can find all of them on this website. In India, it's like 7:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. Depending upon the year of time of the year. But it's not going to interfere with your daily work. So it's in the evening while having dinner, or you could watch these webinars. And honestly, they really enhance your understanding of the broader topics. So look at these websites. You will find more information, some of the things that I mentioned, papers that you can find. So with that one, I hope I didn't take too much time. I want to thank everyone for listening to me, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have, if you have any.
Professor Reddy, this is Amsan.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the director of NATPAC.
Yeah.
The beginning of the session, I was in another inaugural function. There is another program is happening at NAT Calicut. So NATPAC is organizing. That's why I couldn't join. Thank you for a nice talk and very informative. We have more interactions. Many people attended, including I think Professor Sahu was also there attending your session. We can have interaction now. People also wanted to have some query, probably interact with the Professor Reddy.
Sure. I know you didn't see my first or second slide. I did acknowledge your invitation.
Yes. No, I attend. I think 3/4 of the session I could attend. Immediately after the inaugural, I attended. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
So my question is, is your center doing anything related to sustainability and resiliency?
Yes, Professor, and we are doing a lot of work in that one. In fact, the recent the last 3-4 years. In fact, we had flood, Kerala flood in 2018, 2019, 2 years continuously. So our people are very much the given importance for the sustainability now. They're also talking on sustainability, resilient infrastructure. And in fact, the today program is it is something on full depth reclamation. 3 days workshop, 1 day, the third one here. Again, sustainability we are working more on SDG goals and the targets which we are fixing. It is working. We are working in that area.
Very good.
Some of our scientists are they are experienced in this topic also.
Very nice.
We can now after listening to your talk, if I listen our scientists, we need some mentoring from your side. Probably we can work together to the listen your experience and your expertise in that area. Probably we can extend to Kerala or India in that one, so that we can also show some products or the projects in India also in similar lines.
Yeah, that's what I kind of gave you the US perspective. Obviously, sustainability is geographic dependent. It really also depends upon the society. So I was hoping that you could utilize some of the things that are happening in the US and develop things that are applicable for Indian context.
Yeah, that's correct. Lot of information. Very informative talk. In fact,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah. Now probably others can interact with Professor Reddy.
Sure.
Okay. This is Shahim S., Principal Scientist and Head Transportation Planning Engineering Division. So I have one question, sir. First of all, I thank you for your nice presentation, very informative. So I have one question. What is the desirable mode share or public transport mode share for a sustainable transport development city?
What is the desirable transportation mode from the sustainability point of view?
Public transport share.
Yeah, public transport share. I probably it depends upon the the specific situation that you are looking at it. So that one thing that you have to realize that the sustainability is is not universal. For example, one mode of public transport in one city could be more sustainable than another mode of transport in other place. So that's another point that I make it clear that if you do a project in a particular location, particular city, and you found that conclusion, you cannot generalize that one. So it's just a lot of things to dealing with the distances, the sourcing of the material, sourcing of the energy, and the users and their status, their affordability, and all those things come into picture. So you cannot really generalize it. Obviously, in for example, in Chicago, in the city, the public transport is really a preferred transport because of a lot of people cannot afford having cars and or expensive parking, paying for expensive parking. So they want to have a very cheaper and reliable mode of transport. So in Chicago, in the city, you see the buses and local trains are extensively used. You really, in the city, you don't need a car to go from one place to the other place. Actually, having a car is a pain in the neck. But if you are in a suburb, since you don't have, very good public transport system, then you have to use your personal car. So I hope I made it clear, because I'm saying that you cannot generalize it. You really need to look at the scenario that you're looking at it.
Okay, next
But you
question
can, that's the good thing about this, following this frameworks, you can come up with what is the best sustainable and resilient mode of transport for given conditions.
Okay, the next question in the chat box from Dr. Raji. Sustainability and resilient solution for Indian transport perspective. What are the sustainability and resilient solution for Indian transportation perspective?
Yeah, again, it comes back to the same question, right? So my hope is that listening to me, maybe attendees could take up some projects and address some of those questions, because I'm not knowledgeable about Indian context. I know trains are extensively used in India. That is the major mode of transport. But in the US, we rarely use trains. Most of the times we drive our own cars or take the flights. So I welcome somebody using the generalized frameworks and rating tools that I mentioned, and making them applicable to the Indian context and applying them and answer the questions similar to what you have asked. So what mode of transport is for Indian context? So that's a really good question. I mean, that's why you need to use these frameworks and make the changes as needed for Indian context, and then ask those questions through this applying these frameworks.
Okay, okay, sir. Any other questions?
Sir, this is Shalini.
Yeah.
So you were also talking about the resilient transport, right? Major problem we face in Kerala is mostly in the landslide and flood which occur. And evacuation becomes a very major task for us. So how do we go about that?
Yeah, that's the, preparedness is important, but like I'm just saying, if you are looking at a project and you do the resiliency assessment, if you see the problems with there's a vulnerability, then you want to address that issue, right? So that you will not have problems. Obviously, in the resiliency, you cannot make 100% safe. If you want to make 100% safe, that's design is going to be so uneconomical, and I don't know if that assumed climate change conditions will happen or not. So what we are looking at is, a lot of times when you do the resiliency assessment, look at the projects and, what can you do to reduce the risk for the exposure scenario, the future prediction of the climate under those conditions, how your project is going to perform, and what are the risks with that. So, warning systems are good, to save the lives. But if you are looking at the infrastructure design, then you need to think about what can I do to, not cause the damage, right? And minimize the damage. So if you just have the system, vulnerable, and you want to work on warning system, okay, what are you doing? You're not really addressing the problem. Yeah, of course, your warning system will save lives, but it will be nice to do something to your infrastructure that will not undergo damage and reduce the risk of loss of life and loss of property and all the things. And how do you do that thing, right? I mean, how do you make modifications? How you design new resilient systems? So that's where a lot of innovation could come. A lot of nature-based solutions, a lot of green technologies. So those things are coming into picture. For example, in the coastal areas, we used to have seawalls, concrete seawalls. They're not going to work. I mean, you may design for a certain surge, but what is the guarantee that surge is not going to be more than that? So now you see that in coastal areas, they have a huge surge and a lot of flooding in spite of having those concrete walls. So now the idea is, okay, create a buffer zone, create a floodable parks, not have any built infrastructure, rather than have a natural environment around. So if surge comes, that area is going to be flooded, and you have plants that can survive in that situation and no loss of life. And then when the flood recedes, then it becomes a park and people can use it. So there are a lot of innovative ways that you need to so the bottom line is warning systems are good, but I would, as an engineer, I would like to reduce the risk in future exposure scenarios simultaneously.
Thank you, sir. But most of the cases, what happens is the economy that gets increased. That is what we face. And
So obviously that's kind of a short-sighted thing, because If you are going to do something to reduce the risk, it's going to cost money. But if you don't do it, then loss of property, loss of life, a lot of other things. So that's where, this economic analysis has to be done, not in terms of the direct costs of building something, but what are the indirect benefit, direct benefits and indirect benefits, right? So, you don't want to cause the damage. So you are preventing the damage and associated losses. So let's, spend money. So you can just justify that way. So if you just think in terms of, dollars for construction and not realize that how much of avoided costs you're going to have with that investment. So that's where, the people who are educated are willing to spend money. Now, sustainability is something, good, you want to do it, right? For future. But resiliency is affecting the people, even in every place in US, when the sustainability concepts came in, people were, yeah, it's good, but they were not interested in paying money to do something sustainability. But then when they started seeing, a lot of extreme flooding in their neighborhoods, their houses getting, affected, their lives are getting affected, then, now they're saying to the city government, say, like, do something. We are ready to pay more taxes. We don't want to have the flood damage like we saw last year. We don't want to see that. Then now, every town has a resiliency officer in the town hall, in the municipality, you call it, or village or town hall. So a lot of municipalities and a lot of agencies are really doing a lot of things to address the resiliency. Resiliency has become a very important issue for the public, and they are willing to pay money. And then engineers are using that resiliency as an excuse, not only design the resilient system, but also sustainable system. So resiliency and sustainability are being addressed at the same time.
Thank you, sir.
One more question in the chat box from Sharanya Ullas. Thank you, sir, for giving an insight into sustainable and resilient infrastructure. Sir, shall I use these tools in Indian conditions, since the data backups in the tools are region specific?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You cannot really use the same things that we use here. So you can use them. You can look at them, and then tailor to the conditions that you have in India. So there's a lot of these rating tools, right? So you have those credits. The credits that are applicable in US conditions may not be applicable in Indian conditions. So you develop your own credits that are applicable. So you can create your own assessment framework based on the particular conditions that you look at it. And if you look at the quantitative methods, life cycle assessment and other things, so you have to have the data that is more applicable to Indian conditions. So you cannot do the same analysis like we do it in the US based on our data, and that may not be applicable for Indian conditions. So that's in my conclusions I mentioned, you have these sustainability and resiliency assessment tools, but you need to look at, if they are complete, if they're missing something. A lot of them miss, the social aspects or economic aspects or, environmental aspects, or they're not as thorough as they should be. And, in your case, those credits, those criteria may not be applicable. So you really need to define your own criteria. So that's my goal of my presentation, was to let you know what we have in the US. Obviously, you cannot apply exactly the same things in Indian context. So you really need to use them as the base and then modify them and use them for Indian context.
Okay,
Thank you, sir. Coming to the end of this spectacular section, I would like to invite Sri A. Jagan Kumar, Scientist, Traffic Engineering and Safety Division, NATPAC, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Krishna or Reddy. Today, our words are not enough to express the gratitude to you, Professor. Your lecture gave us a detailed insights about the economic, environment, and social indicators and its merit, and also on its tools. It also derailed on integrated resiliency and sustainability framework, and also on the sustainability and resilient indicators. We also applaud for capturing the essence of beauty of the Chicago city also, sir. At this instance, let's all pledge to develop the transport infrastructure which would balance between economic growth, environment, care, and social well-being. We also thank all the academicians, professors, students, and researchers taking part in the lecture. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to present, and keep in touch, and any help you need, I will be available to help you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you, sir.
Professor Krishna, Reddy. Yeah.
We have Krishna sir also from College of Engineering.
College of Engineering.
Hello, sir. Krishna sir, how are you? So he's my good friend. Yeah,
When will be your next visit to India, sir?
Not sure. I was there in last October. I'm not sure when I will be there. So no, I don't have plans to visit this year.
Okay. Probably. And next visit, probably we'll catch up somewhere and probably.
Sure.
Let's
I
see
love
you.
Kerala. You know, I've been to Kerala 2 times. The best time I had in India was in Kerala.
Oh, okay.
So I love
Again, welcome back.
I love the place. I love the people. I love the food. So it's really,
Okay.
really nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
look
we
forward
are
to
here
next
again.
visit.
Probably next visit you visit Kerala. Probably.
Yeah, sure,
Shall
sir,
be
sure.
there. We'll
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So very
Thank you,
nice.
sir.
Thank you.
It is very late night there, no? What's the
Yeah,
time?
it's midnight now, 12:05 a.m.
Midnight. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah. Bye. So
Thank you, sir.
good
Bye.
seeing you all online, and then let's keep in touch. And as I said, I will be able to help you anything that you need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, everyone. Bye.